It took about 3 times for me to really get used to what was going on. Here I was, I went into the theater not knowing exactly what to expect, and I wasn't quite sure. The little questions that I had in my mind about what was happening on stage. Like, do I really walk that way? Do I talk that way? It took about 3 times, and then it was fine.
What it's like watching my life story is totally surreal, as one might expect. I mean, it's almost inexplicable because it takes various colors whenever I see it. Sometimes it's a little more from a professional standpoint. I'm listening to how it sounds and who's singing what part and so on and so forth. And then I'm times in the audience just trying to be the audience and enjoying the show for its value. And then there are other times where it's total flashback, and that's a little scarier. I try not to go there too often.
I always did believe in the show. I wasn't quite sure of how successful it would be until it went into La Jolla, and I saw the response of the audience. And I looked at my partner, Bob Gaudio, and said, with this kind of a response, I said, if this ever goes to New York, I said, it looks like we have a monster here. And it was like from my lips to God's ears.
In the early days of the show, and as it all started to develop, I never had a clue on how good it would be. But when Frankie and I saw it in La Jolla, opening night, I think we both knew, we both looked at each other at intermission and paraphrasing said, my God, if this ever gets to New York, imagine what can happen. Because it was so well done, even in the early stages.
There's very little that we kept out of it, and it was a very tough decision to make, to come to the conclusion that they were going to write a show for Broadway about you and your life, and how much of your life were you willing to expose, and how honest you were going to be. I felt that it would have no value unless you were really going to go out there and lay it on the line and tell it all.
There's many difficult moments in there, particularly Frankie's situation with his daughter and what happened, and flashing back to that is I don't know how I would have handled it if it were something that happened to me. So it gets very emotional. I still go there from time to time, and I try and be prepared, but it doesn't matter. If it's a quiet moment and you're really in it, it's tough.
All the music that we made over the years was music that I liked. We weren't listening to the radio and trying to copy what someone else was doing. It was more important that we had an identity of our own. And we went in and made records in the studio and did music that we liked and hoped that there would be a possibility that people would hear this music and like it. I think it's really a love affair that I've had with the audience. There's something really spectacular that happens when you're out on stage and you're performing and the audience is responding in a very positive way to what you're doing. It's like the greatest fulfillment that you could possibly think of. How wonderful is it to be doing something that you love so much and to be getting paid for it. It's just really, it's incredible.
moments where I remember the Dick Clark moment in Sherry, and the first time we saw that on TV. And in fact, I think it was at Frankie's house in Silver Lake, district of Newark, and his wife was at the door screaming and yelling, "Get out of the car and come in here, the song's on Dick Clark." And that was quite a moment. It was a short one, a short story about Sherry. Yeah, it was going to rehearsal, and I was at my house and had the little piano there, and it popped into my brain, and I couldn't get rid of it. And kept singing it and wrote some silly lyrics that I never intended to keep, but we wound up keeping them, and I kept singing it all the way down to the rehearsal, which was a 35-40 minute drive to Newark from Bergenfield, New Jersey, and sang it, you know, when I got there, and as depicted in the show. Some of the guys liked it and some didn't. Frankie liked it, and we had a split moment of, is this worth recording? And Bob Crew was the tiebreaker, so fortunately he made the right decision. Now, the specialty, I think, about our relationship is the yin and the yang. There are times where we are in opposite courts about decisions and things, business or otherwise, but seems like when it comes to the music part of it, it all kind of becomes cohesive and comes together. And even though we may come in from different doors on any given musical situation, we find that sort of happy medium, the center, that is not all my way, not all his way, but for the most part, it's been the right way. That's the biggest thrill for me, is hearing, and sometimes I'm just standing around in the corner and hearing someone talk about what they just saw, because it's a lot of surprise, a lot of shock. There's lots of information in the show that nobody knew. There's a lot of the cat's out of the bag now about relationships and all, but it's not at all a typical music story. You know, it's a lot of heartache and a lot of danger, a lot of trying to pick the right road at the crossroad to go down. And, you know, I mean, for me, and I'm probably Frankie, I think we always had a musical approach to things. But Tommy and Nicky pretty much also. Tommy had a different road he flirted with, you know, and he wound up coming down the road that we were on. But I don't think he ever left that other street, you know. There was something enchanting, infatuating, macho, I don't know, about it that he hung on to. So there was lots of tension, you know, we had lots of tension, which is depicted in the show, and there's many moments that get pretty heavy, and then association with lots of people that not exactly the savory characters.